the most powerful weapon in the DC universe, or the most powerful monster in the history of film? Which one will win this battle? Let's get into it. This is the only fight where we can say that there are no civilians, because everything is literally being destroyed by these two. In our corner, weighing in at about 30,000 tons, standing over 50 feet tall, the king of the monsters, the one and only Godzilla. And opposite to him, the most powerful Green Lantern in the history of the Green Lantern Corps. Who will win this fight? Godzilla had been having a pretty normal day, just chilling off the coast of Japan, when he suddenly started feeling really sick, like he was coming down with some kind of bug. But for Godzilla, that means knocking buildings down. So he heads towards the nearest big city, Tokyo, so he can destroy it quietly. Except he doesn't know that Hal Jordan is flying overhead on his way back from OA after being promoted to the rank of Green Lantern, and he sees Godzilla wrecking Tokyo. And seeing as how Godzilla isn't exactly Japanese, Hal knows he has to stop him. We all know the power of a Green Lantern. They can create anything they can imagine, but their powers also depend on their willpower. That is why Sinestro, the villain who turns people into yellow lanterns and uses fear as a power battery, is such a threat to the Green Lanterns. He plays directly into the one weakness of the Green Lanterns. Their power rings cannot contain certain things, and one of those things is a phoenix. We've seen it before. When Parallax, the embodiment of fear itself, took over Hal Jordan and became the most powerful Green Lantern ever, he ended up releasing a phoenix and destroying Coast City, which was a major turning point in the Green Lantern mythos. But a phoenix is nothing compared to Godzilla. The king of the monsters is like a natural disaster made flesh. His very essence is beyond the control of a Green Lantern ring. But the question is, can a Green Lantern ring contain the king of the monsters? And the answer is maybe. You see, if Godzilla is like a natural disaster, then the Green Lantern ring should be able to contain him. After all, water and earth manipulation are pretty basic constructs for any Green Lantern to make. And even if Godzilla were to break through the constructs, he'd still have to contend with some very strong constructs like Black Lantern rings. But here's the thing, a Green Lantern ring isn't just a tool, it's an extension of the user's willpower. So if a Green Lantern ring can contain something, that means that the Green Lantern themselves believe that they can contain that thing. If not, then they won't be able to contain that thing, and the belief is what's going to be tested here. If Hal Jordan believes that he can defeat Godzilla, then he will find a way to do it, and I think that Hal does believe he can do it. That's why he's a Green Lantern in the first place. He wasn't like Guy Gardner, who got his ring despite being a bit of an idiot. Hal actually had to prove himself worthy of being a Green Lantern, and he did it by believing in himself. Now, am I saying that Godzilla is more powerful than Hal Jordan? No, I'm just saying that the Green Lantern rings have limits, and willpower is one of them. So if Hal believes that he can defeat Godzilla, then he will defeat Godzilla. But if he starts to doubt himself, then Godzilla could end up destroying Hal Jordan. And let's be honest, it's only a matter of time before Hal starts doubting himself. Here's what I mean. Green Lanterns don't usually deal with enemies like Godzilla. Their enemies are usually other Green Lanterns or beings of pure evil or beings who feed on their fears. So when Hal runs up against something that he might not be able to defeat, something that is a force of nature, his first instinct isn't going to be to fight. It's going to be to run away. Luckily he's a skilled pilot and an even more skilled flyer, so he should be able to get away from Godzilla. But here's the thing, even if Hal could outrun Godzilla, he couldn't outlast him. Godzilla just keeps going and going and going. Even when he seems like he's about to die, he just keeps on ticking. And the reason for that is because he's not a living being. He's actually a nuclear reactor come to life. So as long as there is radiation around, Godzilla will survive. And there always seems to be radiation around, so basically, Godzilla could live forever. And if Hal can't defeat him, then he'll eventually become the new Green Lantern of Earth, stuck protecting the planet for all eternity from a monster he can't beat, and that would suck. Now, luckily for Hal, he does have some tricks up his sleeve. He could try using his ring to trap Godzilla in some kind of construct world, but that would probably just piss Godzilla off and make him even angrier. And if Hal traps him somewhere with humans, well, I don't think I need to explain what happens next. And besides, wouldn't that be a bit unfair? After all, Godzilla doesn't know what's going on. He's just kind of doing his thing. Hal is the one who interrupted him. So trapping him in another dimension without giving him a chance to explain would just be kinda rude. Not to mention that Hal has never done that before, and he is not sure if he can even do it. Constructing worlds is usually left up to the Guardians of the Universe, Not to mention that if he did manage to trap Godzilla in another dimension, what would he do with the portal once Godzilla was gone? Close it, right? Well, that would just send Godzilla back to where he started. So Hal would have wasted his energy for nothing. And energy is the one thing a Green Lantern has the least of in these fights. That is why Hal's best bet is to just go all out and try to defeat Godzilla with all of his might. It's risky, but it's his best option. So Hal takes a deep breath and focuses all of his willpower into the ring. It glows brighter than ever before as Hal prepares to unleash the full power of the Green Lantern cores on Godzilla. Will it be enough to defeat the king of the monsters? Maybe. There's really no telling with a guy who's nearly 100 years old, hasn't aged a day since 1954. And if you thought that was impressive, wait until you see this. You know, when you think about it, the fact that we still have seen the king of the monsters fight someone who is actually on his level is kind of disappointing. I mean, we've seen him fight giant moths and giant birds and giant worms and giant turtles and giant robots and giant versions of himself and giant versions of other monsters. But where are the actual heavy hitters? Where are the gods and the demons and the cosmic entities? Where are the other monsters who are just as powerful and just as destructive as Godzilla himself? I mean, Godzilla's cool and all, but is kind of like the big brother who always has to save the day. It'd be nice to see him team up with someone who can actually challenge him, someone who can make him work for it. But hey, maybe one day we'll see it. Maybe one day we'll see Godzilla take on someone who can actually push him to his limits. Until then, though, we re-stuck with giant moths and giant birds and giant worms and giant turtles and giant robots and giant versions of himself and giant versions of other monsters. So who do you think would win a fight between the most powerful Green Lantern and the king of the monsters? Is it the Green Lantern who can create anything he can imagine? Or the king of the monsters who is nearly 100 years old and has aged a day since 1954? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.